Welcome back. If it has joined us to watching Channels Television, celebrating 21 years of professional broadcasting. This is the News at 10, a reminder of our major stories tonight. President Muhammadu Buhari salutes Nigerians for their steadfastness in his Eid al-Kabir message, assures of his administration's commitment to improve the standard of living among Nigerians. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo says current economic downturn will soon be overcome with measures already put in place by the current administration. The Jaw Youth Council asked the federal government to dialogue with ethnic nationalities and not the Niger Delta Avengers to achieve lasting peace in the region. And South Korea plans to wipe out Pyongyang if it shows any signs of mounting a nuclear attack. Just a reminder here that all our top stories you can find on our website. It's channelstv.com and on youtube.com/channelsweb. Do log on to m.channelstv.com to view us live on your mobile device. You can also download the Channels TV app for Android, iOS and Windows phones from their respective stores. Besides the news and updates, the Channels TV app has an eyewitness feature. We encourage you to use it to share those pictures, videos, and news of happenings around you. Just install the app, then tap and swipe to reveal the eyewitness menu and follow the instructions. So here are some pictures you sent into our eyewitness portal. We begin with this one, showing traders displaying their wares along this road in the Ikotun area of Lagos State. Eyewitness reporter says their activities cause a gridlock. Our next photo shows the aftermath of a road accident involving a commercial bus and a vehicle along Ikorodu Road in Lagos State. Eyewitness reporter advises motorists to adhere to traffic regulations. Similar to that is this one, which shows a fallen electricity pole on top of a car. Our next photo shows the bad condition of Additional Street in Agoda area, also in Lagos State. Eyewitness reporter calls on local council authorities to help fix it. Finally is this photo, which shows a sports utility vehicle almost swallowed up by a flood in a flooded canal. Eyewitness reporter calls on government to create more effective drains to avoid situations like this. It's been a somber day in the United States today as Americans remember the first terror attacks on American soil so far in history. While tributes are made to the victims in ceremonies across the nation, many have chosen to ponder in silence. Names of the dead were recited at one of the ceremonies held in New York amidst the tolling of church bells and attributing lights at the site where the Twin Towers collapsed.
Ronald Edward Calmer.
Jack. The ceremony paused for 6 moments of silence, 4 to mark the exact times 4 hijacked planes were crashed into the World Trade Center, the Pentagon near Washington, D.C., and a Pennsylvania field. The last 2 record when the north and south towers of the Trade Center crumbled. More than 340 firefighters and 60 police were killed that day. Many of the first responders died while running upstairs in the hope of reaching victims strapped on the tower's high floors. There were no public speeches, and though presidential candidates Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump were present, none commented. Several ceremonies held across the United States commemorating the event and were observed by Americans even outside of the U.S. The U.S. consulate in Lagos sent out a press release before the date, detailing the incident and the work of the first responders and highlighting the impact of terrorism in Nigeria, Mali, Burkina Faso, France, Bangladesh, Turkey, and Belgium, among many other countries. The statement said too many families around the world have experienced pain and loss as a result of terrorism, and said it was a clear message that we all must stand together to defeat the scourge. It resonated President Barack Obama's message to Americans a couple of days before, calling Americans to be true to who they are and not be defeated by terror. This morning, the president was at the Pentagon where he paid tribute to the victims of the attacks.
In the end, The most enduring memorial to those we lost is ensuring the America that we continue to be, that we stay true to ourselves, that we stay true to what's best in us.
The world may not have become any safer 15 years on, and attacks have become more frequent. But the consciousness of a safer world rests not just on the Americans, but the rest of the world. Former Deputy Ambassador to the United States, Ambassador Joe Keshi, joins me now to review how the world has changed since then, since September 11, 2001. Ambassador, thank you for joining us on the News at 10.
Thank you, Amarachi.
Have the lessons learned from the attacks reflected on the American people and the rest of the world after 15 years?
Well, in some ways, you know, this was a spectacular attack or an extraordinary event that changed America itself and the rest of the world. The attack and the reactions have, in so many ways, shaped American foreign policy for the last 15 years and has led to a number of unintended consequences which we are probably dealing with, you know, today. You can look at the whole world and see, and look at one event after the other. These are all as a result of that unfortunate and dreadful event, you know, 15 years ago. So, as you said in your report, I don't think the world is safer, but I think if we continue to try to strive, we can actually all together, collectively, make the world, you know, more safer than it is today.
You say the world has not become any safer, and this is despite the security measures that have been put in place, not just in the US, but in the rest of the world.
When you look at what has happened since 9/11, in fact, in one of your comments, you actually named a number of countries that has experienced terrorist attacks since 9/11. These attacks did not happen before then. Yes, there were some, you know, crises or attacks which also were part of the fallout of what we used to refer to the, you know, crisis in the Middle East. But the consequences of, you know, 9/11 itself has almost reverberated around the whole, you know, whole world. And part of the reason is that, you know, if the Bush administration has not, you know, has concentrated only on Afghanistan and destroyed, you know, Al-Qaeda. In fact, they have almost completed destroying Al-Qaeda before they took their eyes off the ball and went to, you know, Iraq. And you can see that from Iraq, we've had a lot of destabilization in the Middle East. If there was no 9/11, there probably would have been no, I mean, Saddam Hussein would probably still be alive today. Gaddafi would still be in Libya. There would have been peace to a large extent. There would have been peace in Iraq itself. We probably wouldn't have the Syrian crisis or the Arab Spring as we have it today. And many other things, France, London, all those that have experienced attack. Nigeria with the Boko Haram thing, the Mali, you know, these are all part of the fallout of the crisis, you know, that 9/11 created.
So, Ambassador, at this point, what's the most important thing that we need to know about terrorism post 9/11?
Well, post 9/11, I think we are all now, you know, number one, you could say that even on a number of, you know, even individually in so many ways it has affected us. And I think the first thing we really need to understand is that, look, it has affected us in so many ways and has changed the world itself. I mean, I give you one typical example. You know, before 9/11, I'm sure if you traveled out of this country, you can attest to, you know, what it was, how you go around the airports with our difficulties or challenges. Today, you know what it is to go around, any airport in the world. Even our local domestic airports here, we experience, challenges. So I think one of the lessons we just have to learn is that terrorism itself it's bad, and it's something that we all need to join hands together to confront.
And can it be defeated in the long run? Because you have different countries all fighting against terror, including Nigeria and so on. Can it be defeated eventually?
No, absolutely. I think at the end of the day, it will be defeated. ISIS has lost a lot of grounds over the last couple of months. Even here in Nigeria, Boko Haram is almost out of the radar. And I think in Afghanistan itself, where we all know that the 9/11 was planned, Al-Qaeda too has been degraded to a significant extent. I think with a little bit more perseverance and focus and the collective efforts of the rest of the world, I believe that terrorism itself can be defeated. But I would also say this: in trying to do that, we must also go back and look at the major causes, the origin of all these, anger that has provoked and created 9/11. It started somewhere in the Middle East, and we've got to find a way of resolving those crises. If we do not resolve those crises, and there's this feeling that one part of the world is against another, or this whole famous clash of civilization, look, if we continue, we'll find ourselves that the end of one terrorism might just lead to another end of, terrorism itself. So there's a need for a collective effort through the efforts of the United Nations and particularly the world powers themselves, to do everything that is possible to end what we do have now.
Ambassador Joe Keshi, thank you so much for joining us tonight. The federal government is doing all within its power to ensure heavy cargo is moved from ports using the railways. This was made known by the Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Mr. Babatunde Fashola. The minister is in Lagos to inspect the abandoned bridge and trailer park in Apapa dedicated to trucks. He also viewed ongoing work along the Apapa-Ijara Bridge, where he asked the contractor to come up with a comprehensive engineering solution.
Just like he did when the closure of Apapa-Ijara Bridge was ordered, the Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Mr. Babatunde Fashola, has again paid an unscheduled visit to the same bridge to run an eye on the work done so far. So having been briefed by the contractor, he seemed to want more and has asked them to come up quickly with a comprehensive engineering evaluation of the bridge to allow for an expanded maintenance, repair and perhaps reconstruction.
The expansion joints which are part of any bridge that allows for contraction and expansion, and sometimes that's when people say the bridge is moving. Bridges must move. Haven't been changed for as long as any one of us can remember. That's part of routine maintenance, so we're trying to see how we can change all of that and also help to improve the security of the area and also the commuter experience in this area. So we're waiting for the final details and hoping that we would have them in good enough time so that we can then make budgetary and appropriation proposals for them to start the work in full speed next year.
From there, he moves on to the other side of Apapa, precisely opposite the Tinkan Island port. Specifically, he's concerned about the state of the new Port Novo Bridge under construction, which has been designated only for trucks and heavy-duty vehicles leaving and returning to the ports.
This project was awarded in 2009, a 240-meter bridge, and we haven't finished it in 2016. And what is the reason? There was just no money. We didn't fund it. At the time, we were earning $100 per barrel of oil. So the contractors have left site. So it's the meetings I've been having with them, bringing them back to site. Go and finish what you've started. And that's why we are here. Unfortunately, the appropriation didn't deal with it this year. I hope that it will next year. As we go on, we will be able to revive the old rail tracks, even if all it does is to move our cargo.
Mr. Fashola, who lamented the consequences of using the roads for heavy tonnage vehicles rather than the rail services, also appealed to road transport owners to rethink their investment by purchasing train wagons for haulage of wet and dry cargoes. Olu Phillips, Channels Television News.
Still ahead on the news at 10, our community report tonight looks at the plight of the people of Kunukunuma community in Baramatu Kingdom, Delta State. Please join us again.